is the film industry dying?
Yo, you owe like 140K in taxes. I was like, sick. That's just crazy. 130K, bro. I can't even fathom that.
Oh, this shit's about to be bananas.
Oh my God.
And then it just fell off a cliff hard.
It's sad, bro.
There was a long time where I was on the daily doing customer service in the DMs for years.
It can get like super tumultuous.
Business almost crumbled. All right, today we got a Q&A. Yesterday we asked on Instagram, kind of like, hey, podcast is coming back, ask us anything. AMA posted, a question kind of thing to the Instagram, and y'all asked a bunch of different questions. So literally today is going to be a bunch of questions from you guys. We'll throw the questions up on screen, and we'll answer them to, the best of our abilities. Yeah. Should I kick it off? Question? All right. Question number 1 is from Film Cool Shit. What are 3 of your biggest regrets in growing your businesses?
I think the first one for me, and this might be different for you, or maybe we agree on some of these, I think would be just shiny object syndrome, where you essentially kind of, I remember there's a book, I'm blanking on the author's name, it's called The Dip. I think it's Seth Godin. And it basically says when you start anything, any creative endeavor, job, maybe a new pursuit, there's sort of this little
this peak.
And then there's a moment in that peak where you actually go down. Like there's a valley you have to kind of go through. And most people give up in that valley because they were like, dude, it was so good just a moment ago when we were bootstrapping, buying the domain name, building the site.
Well, anytime you're starting anything fun, like new, it's fun, right? And then you kind of get into it and it's like, we as humans naturally, I think, get a little like bored, or it's like, oh, what's next? Kind of thing. So continue. Sorry.
No, for sure. No, but so I think the shiny object syndrome comes when you're in that dip, hypothetical dip, where you're like, okay, let me just go start something else because it was fun when I was bootstrapping again. So I think maybe like lost, like losing a little focus, or like trying to do a bunch of different things, Right.
So, to go past that. So 3 of your biggest business regrets. I think one of the biggest things that stands out to me is they will remain nameless, but we brought on an agency to handle a lot of our like paid media marketing. And it was for a while there, tumultuous and toxic relationship that just gave me daily anxiety and got us to a spot where we almost like the business almost crumbled, and it was just like, dude, like this isn't even fun. We want to quit. Like money was tight, like just a multitude of things, right? Dude, and I think just trusting and believing in everything that we were being sold, and we bought it hook, line, and sinker, and it put us in a bad spot. And
that's a really, really good point. And damn, honestly, you saying that's like, fuck, that almost deserves a full episode. Yeah. Because like when you go get your car serviced and they're like, hey man, you need a new intake manifold, you're like, shit, okay, yeah, like how much? You just are trusting that expert to tell you, like we put too much faith in the knowledge you're being delivered. So when they're saying one thing like, oh, hey, like it's this and that, it's like, okay, yeah, like we trust you, until we didn't trust them. And then, oh my God, dude, obviously when you're in a relationship with someone who is heavily involved in the revenue that your business is making, like marketing, it can get like super tumultuous. So yeah, that's a really good point, honestly,
Trying to think other biggest regret. I don't have too many regrets in terms of things, because it's like, dude, we've done a lot and we're continuing to chase our passions and build our businesses. But I think something I would have done differently is build our team earlier. I feel like for so long, me and you tried to hang on to doing everything ourselves and not bringing in like team members and putting people on like a full salary. Yeah. And then I feel like once we did that, like probably like 2-3 years ago, it helped the business grow tremendously and also freed us up to do more of the stuff like that was like creatively pushing the business forward versus like the administrative business tasks, because we're creative people. And so trying to like run a creative business and be creative, but have to deal with all that back end BS of growing. Like, dude, there was a long time where I was on the daily doing customer service in the DMs
Yeah.
for years while doing the social media and everything else, like going into my DMs, the DMs of the companies and businesses, and answering people's questions. Like, that's not where my time is best served. Like,
dude, there was a moment where, like, before I got the autofill figured out, I had to go in on Tropicolor and, like, send everyone the files.
Yeah.
Like, until we got the MediaFire thing figured out. And it was like, dude, it was so exhausting. I'd have to literally, like, check orders all, you know what I mean? So, yeah, you obviously, like, find people that can do those things, but that's a great one. So I guess to recap, it's putting too much trust in somebody that ended up being deceptive. So maybe not being able to sniff it out. Shiny object syndrome, trying to chase too many squirrels and not having like
a little
intent
narrow
focus. And then, yeah, obviously what you just said in terms of just, yeah, all that.
Cool. Next question is from John Waldman. He says, how do you stay organized running so many creative ventures? I really struggle with this.
I mean, shoot, I don't even think I struggle with that. You know what I mean? I would love to like be the guru who it's like, yo, like
I've got the answer.
100%. No, I mean, I think it's tricky because I feel like, I mean, without getting like too deep, like I feel like I personally struggle with having like some degree of ADD. You know, I do struggle with that, and I'm not like medicated. So there is times where like it is very hard for me to like hold focus. And I think like the cool thing about having different businesses from Peerspace to Studios, Prism, Tropic is it allows me to shift my focus in different spots. I think the part that I personally struggle with is sometimes a little issue will happen with barracks and I'll have to run down here and then, dude, there goes my whole day. And it's like, so sometimes like it's really, and then, yeah, I'm sure you experience it too, where it's like, oh shoot, I gotta go run home, help Chanel with the kids. It's like, I don't know if you like at that moment when you get home are like fully switched off, or it's like, okay, shoot, I need to still get this done. Like getting back into certain rhythms once you've like switched your set and setting and like are doing different things. It's really difficult for me personally, you know?
No, I feel like I have a really good like recipe and daily routine on how to like just tackle the day. I think just where I struggle with is because we do so many different things. I have so many different ideas for all of the different ventures, and it's impossible to tackle them all. And then I get really down on myself when I feel like I didn't have a productive day, like because I didn't get all those things done, which is naturally an impossible thing to do. Like there's no way I could do all of those things, achieve all those things, knock every one of those things off the checklist, and then I'll kind of like maybe feel like I was like, damn, I wasn't that productive. But maybe I did have a kind of productive day, but in my own head, just because of everything I wanted to do and all the ideas I have, like I just feel like like maybe not as like accomplished of a day as I don't know. Does that make sense?
No,
like,
for sure.
So I'll be hard on myself and down on myself
sure.
in that way. And maybe Chanel will maybe even be like, oh, what's wrong? Like you kind of off today. And it's like, you know, that would be why.
You know, I heard this analogy, and I think it relates to what you're saying, is a lot of times your effort doesn't look like it's actually making any results. And the analogy was, you know, the temperature could be getting lower and lower, and just at 32 degrees, it freezes. But you could have been like lowering the temperature multiple degrees, and you're not seeing any difference. Like, dude, nothing's happening. And then all of a sudden, you know, it freezes, right? Or like I think the same thing with like an iceberg. I've heard that analogy the same way, where you feel like you're not making any momentum or any strides towards something. And then all of a sudden, all those little things that you maybe didn't feel like were accomplishing, like compound to actually something big over time. You know what I mean? But I feel the same, especially when you're doing so many things. I kind of feel like you're kind of me personally juggling kind of a few things, and sometimes it requires more in certain areas. So like, yeah, no, I even deal with that sometimes with Prism, because I just know like I currently feel a bottleneck in terms of like the digital products we want to launch on Prism, or building out this and that. And it's like, it's hard because like maybe that's where we can maybe bring another like team member in, because it's like sometimes I feel it all kind of comes down to Tom, that's you in Shopify, right? And it's like, oh man, that's like so much stuff. So yeah, no, I feel it, bro, for sure. It's like whoever asked that question, I don't think there's an answer. It just kind of comes to, yeah, I mean, shoot, that's
yeah, just I just think you're not alone. I think no matter where you are in life, you're probably going to experience that. I've experienced it every step of the way. And yeah, I think for me, the biggest struggle I have is just being hard on myself, not doing and accomplishing everything that I want to, because I have so many ideas just run through my head all the time. So I think it's just learning to like, be easy on yourself and just stay consistent,
for sure,
and just keep making a little bit of progress day by day. But like, for me, not just being so hard on yourself. So I think going off of that, Matthew Farias Media, sorry, I think I said that right. How have you evaluated and reflected on the products you've made that don't do well? So, like, I guess we'll just say in terms of Prism, but the product could be also one of our studios, because we've had a couple studios that
or Tropic Color
or Tropic, yeah.
Yeah.
How have you evaluated and reflected on the products you've made that don't do well?
Me personally, when something doesn't do well, I think I overlooked the desire, the need. Like the seed of like all of our businesses, if it's studios, companies, filters, prisms, LUTs, film grain, you know, like what all the things that we sell are kind of like products that like solve a problem or are intended to do a certain thing. And I think the things that don't do well are maybe you and I think the crystal effects or maybe solar flare, night vision, like that's not something though, because those didn't really end up doing maybe what we thought they would. They like didn't really solve, like it was that problem didn't really exist, or that desire for that thing wasn't as maybe huge as we thought it would be.
Yeah.
So maybe overlooking the demand or thinking there's a demand when in fact there wasn't.
Yeah.
But sometimes you don't know until you do it. You know what I mean? So
for sure.
Yeah.
So I think kind of going back to what we were just talking about, Stephen Carey asked, how do you maximize your daily routine with how much you guys juggle? I mean, for me personally, I wake up super early because not only do, you know, we have all these businesses that we have to run, but I have twins, kids. So like every day I'm waking up at 5 a.m. to work out. And then after my workout, I get like an hour of kind of quiet time before kids get up, you know, it's breakfast, hang out with them. And then around like 8:15-ish, like I go down to the Prism warehouse, and that's where most of my work day takes place. But like if I don't get up in those early hours to get that little bit of like one workout, which for me, like when I work out, a lot of like ideas, mental clarity, like it really helps me have what I feel is like a successful and productive day, especially when you can start off the day by like checking off like a hard thing. Like, I think it's super important to challenge yourself. So that right away will always, the days I do work out or maybe a day I don't work out, like I don't feel as productive. And maybe I even had a really productive work day, but I didn't work out. There's still a part of me that like, I don't know, at least for me, it feels like I'm missing something. So getting that workout in and then just having like that hour of quiet time where I can also like do the more boring, mundane stuff, like checking and responding to emails, so that my like main work day is not just like checking and responding to emails and whatnot, I think helps me. And then, my core work days then obviously like the social media posts, what things need to be shot or edited. Obviously we talk on the phone countless times throughout the day, different meetings and calls and whatnot. And then around that evening time, I kind of shut it down and it's hanging out with kids, dinner, bath, bedtime. And then I usually end the day watching a movie on Netflix.
No, I love that.
And whatnot. But
I do need to check you because you did crash in my pad last night, and I was up at 6 a.m. and I didn't see you up. So
yeah, I was on vacation. I'm on vacation.
Shoot, I was like, yo, where's that 5 a.m. Jake at?
Not here.
I was like, yo, shoot, where
not
you
here.
at?
I got kids. I ain't got no office to go to. I ain't got any of that. That's true though. I literally walked out. I was like, Tom, what
Dude,
are you?
I was freaking animating, dog.
I was like, what are you doing up? You're like, I know, you know the vibes. And I'm like, no, I don't know the vibes because you're never up at this hour. Like, what do you?
So you think, bro?
No, yeah. So I think it's true.
One thing I'll add to that, we have very different routines. I think where I get a lot of
owl.
What's up?
You're a night owl.
Night owl. I am. I also say, because a lot of times I do need to come down here either to work at my office, which is just down the street, or come to these studios. So I'm in my car 30 minutes from where I live to downtown LA, or 30 minutes from downtown LA back home. And yeah, like will find myself like just driving in silence, even though it sounds like a sociopath. Like there's just something about like just driving and the ambient sounds of the cars by you where like I can kind of let my like mind wander and like come up with ideas and stuff. And something recently, I've never considered myself like a gamer per se, but it is really nice after like a pretty stressful day after dinner. Yeah, maybe a movie if there's something on, but sometimes I'll just like, dude, turn on the PS5 and just play a little bit. And it literally like lets your mind kind of just like, there's nothing.
Dude, the day you text me like, yo, I got a PS5. Like, what game should I run? You want to run COD? I was like,
and here's the thing. I downloaded COD and I was so bad at it that I literally haven't even opened it since.
Yeah. But what's your game?
Right now it's a game called Returnal. And dude, I know this isn't a gaming podcast. the whole game. There's no checkpoints. There's no saves. You have to beat the whole game in one run, and if you die, the game restarts.
Dude, I remember when you showed me a video game trailer where you get to play a cat walking around.
Stray.
You were so hype on it, and I was like, "Why do you like?" He's like, "Bro, you're a cat in a post-apocalyptic city."
I never ended up copying that game, but dude, the vibes of that game look crazy.
You're a cat, dude. You just walk around as a cat,
dude,
and try not to get caught by like futuristic robots.
The gameplay in that game looked great. I will say though, before we get back to filmmaking, Last of Us is a great video game.
Yeah, but the show, season 2.
Did we talk about that for a quick second?
Dookie butter.
It just got literally renewed for a 3rd season.
Like, when I watched episode 2 of season 2, I was like, oh, this shit's about to be bananas.
Oh my God.
And then it just fell off a cliff hard.
Having played the game too, it's sad, bro.
Yeah.
It's sad.
Yeah,
like,
unfortunate.
For those who literally have watched the show, and I would imagine filmmakers, it's literally like one of the best shows on, or was, I should use past tense. It's just, bro, the writing, I think, really struggled this season, unfortunately. And if you actually play the game, which I say that because it's the source material, it'd be like Harry Potter being different than the guy in the book. Dude, like, the character in the show, Ellie, is this, like, once fucking, spoiler alert, Joel dies, she goes straight John Wick. Like, she's a savage in the game. In the show, she's like, how does that work? And it's like, dude, that's so dumb. Like, it's just not even, it's not different. You're not even honoring the source material. So
interesting.
It was frustrating to watch, honestly. But yeah, anyways.
Quick one about gear from James DDLIG. Investing in expensive cinema lenses, is it a good idea?
I think
We've never done it.
Yeah, I think I'm the wrong person to ask. Like, literally, when it came to buying the cameras for this pod, we bought like a couple, $600-700 cameras off B&H. And like, I think if you're in a situation where you have a business where you can leverage those lenses in your creative work as a DP, as a rental house, maybe you run like something where you can leverage that as an asset. I can't really speak to it because I don't own cinema lenses and don't really know that business, but I know there is people like Logan Mice, Mark Oldfast Glass who, obviously have built a business around renting gear.
Yeah, if you're going to do it, if you're going to like buy and invest in expensive lenses, I think one, you should be able to be using them on a consistent basis.
Yeah.
You have some sort of jobs or productions on a constant basis where you can use them yourselves, or if you're getting into it to, make money off of rentals, like you better enjoy that process of it. Like for us, neither one of us have like wanted to ever start or invest in some sort of like rental business and dealing with people
100%.
renting it. So like that for us, we've never done that. We've never bought expensive lenses.
I mean, think about it, bro. How many times have you been in the desert? Imagine that 100-pound video, right? We're literally in the desert. Mind you, we're using our own equipment, so our gear's just getting punished. But imagine you rent out your Alexa. They got fans, wind machines. It's 110 degrees. There's sand getting in and all the optics. Like, I think part of me, just having worked in the film industry, knowing how punishing a set can be. There's times, bro, I've been on a job where the camera just stays on for like 12 hours. They just do not turn it on. It's like house power. The thing is just on, clocking up hours. The fan never gets a break. It's like, I find it hard to invest in something that I know is going to get punished. It'd be like buying a car, putting on Turo, and it just gets redlined every day. It's like, dude, how is that going to... I mean, maybe people do take care of things in certain capacities, but the sets I've been on, it's like, dude, gear, mat box hits the ground, camera getting rigged to a car mount, and then rock hit. It's like, dude, I would never want to buy... our buddy bought like a $130K, like Alexa Mini LF. I don't even know what the flavors are these days. I'm like... That's just crazy. 130K, bro. I can't even fathom that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Like camera.
Yeah.
It's wild.
So
I really like what you're saying, but first we need to just thank today's sponsor, Prism Lens Effects. The No Late Fees podcast is powered by Prism Lens Effects, which makes various filmmaking photography products specifically in the filter space to allow you to author your images in camera on set. We came up directing, shooting music videos, and we were always looking for fun ways to do in-camera effects and tricks. So we started and founded Prism Lens Effects back in 2018, and since then have grown and become this big global brand. So if you are ever in town or in LA and need to pick up a product, come to the Prism Lens Effects video store and pick something up. You can also save 15% online when you use code NLF15. That's no late fees 15. NLF15 for 15% off your next order. So yeah, next time you're thinking about experimenting with some in-camera effects, whether it's for a photo shoot, video shoot, we hope that you'll reach for Prism Lens Effects. From Chris B Production, any tips or advice on SBA loans? Have you got one for any of the businesses yet?
I think you could kind of speak to that.
Yeah, so I could speak to this a little bit because I'm currently looking at getting a small business loan for around probably like $3 million for this new business that I want to open up with my wife in Arizona. It's our first foray into getting like a small business loan. It's a very long, arduous process, kind of intimidating too, especially for a number of that size, like $3 million. But I will say for all of our other businesses, we've always just done it with cash on hand.
Yeah.
For everything that we started, from the studios to Prism, et cetera. Like, we've never taken out any sort of loans or got outside investors.
Yeah.
We've always funded everything ourselves, and we always like reinvest the money back into the business. Because I would like to think that based on how the businesses are doing and the money they've made and how successful they are, like, we could easily go out and find investors and raise a bunch of money or go get a loan. But like, I think for us, not having that weighted pressure of a loan to pay back makes it a little more like fun every day. And you're not having this looming pressure over your head,
like getting shareholders paid, or
I don't know, just even if it's not shareholders or investors, even if it's just paying back a business loan. Like, sure, we could probably go get $1 million loan for Prism,
Shopify loans.
Yeah, we could go get a huge loan, blow this shit up, hire more employees, do this, but then it becomes much more of like a thing that becomes our sole focus now, because we're like beholden to paying that loan back. And so I think we keep it more like fun and light, where we use our own money. We just constantly reinvest profits back into growing the business. I don't know. That's just how we've done it. I have
questions about the SBA loan, because I'm just genuinely curious. Like, when you get like a $3 million SV or B with a
SB business.
Oh, that makes sense. Like, so act of God, you get this loan. Like, what if like you can't repay it? Do you have to like put your house or like assets on the line?
It just depends how much you know are putting down. Like, for example, we're looking to buy a building, and with that small business loan, that would go towards like a little bit of financing that building, but then also the huge renovation we need to do to it. And depending on if we put zero down, then yes, they would sink their teeth into like our house, right? So now we're putting up our house as collateral.
Then that scare you?
We don't want to do that.
Okay.
No. So
I would never. Yeah.
So we would put anywhere from 10, 15, 20% down to buy the building, and then they can't sink their teeth into like our house as collateral. But if the business fails and we can't pay back the loan, like, they would then assume that building. Yeah. We don't get to keep that building.
No, for sure.
So, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's dude, that's a wild chess move for sure.
So, we'll see.
Yeah.
Film Cool Shit asked another question. Is the film industry dying? Just straight up. Is it dying? I mean, that's a loaded question.
It's definitely not what it used to be, for sure. It's tricky, right? Because I feel like, and this actually might get like a little cathartic. I feel like when I fell in love and wanted to become a filmmaker, like from the moment I like really got into filmmaking and got my first camera and went to high school, took multimedia, went to college, went to film school, like the rules were pretty much the same. The only variable was like, okay, there's some new cameras. Like right when I entered film school was that whole kind of like film versus digital. Is film dead? And now I feel like we're at the moment like AI versus the real. Are filmmakers dead? So I'm like kind of trying to be optimistic, where it's like, oh, look, we weathered another paradigm shift. Right. Imagine what like Chaplin and them, when color and sound came out, they're like, what? This is not what we're used to. And things continue. Or a paradigm shift when like digital cameras came out. The thing is though, those are like little incremental improvements to an existing medium. I think we're at like a paradigm shift where it's like, this is no longer the tech getting like better per se. It's just fundamentally different. You know what I mean? It's not like, oh, we have more megapixels or more, low light sensitivity. It's like, no, hey, we can just generate anything now. And that's where it's like, this is a little different than those previous ones. So I'm at this weird crossroads, because everything from the moment I fell in love with filmmaking till now, it's been more or less the same sort of environment of like trying to get your film off the ground and make something that's like, it's like very different now. You know what I mean?
True. Well, just to piggyback off that.
But like AI and stuff is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. To piggyback off that, this guy right here, KB84, asked, I need film work, but I can't seem to find any clients. Any advice? I feel like there's a lot of people right now that are like struggling to find clients or work. And yeah, I mean, we're not as much in that sphere anymore. I mean, I could just speak to our early experience of like, when I was starting out, and obviously everyone starts from ground zero and you have no clients, like I would just shoot music videos for free for a bunch of artists. And then other artists started to see those music videos I was shooting and putting out and wanted to hire me to make their music video. And that's how I started to gain clients. So, I mean, I don't know if the same technique still applies in 2025, but I think you just have to go out and shoot the projects and clients that you like want to attract. So if you like doing social media, commercial, branded work for like local businesses and companies, you just need to reach out to them and tell them you'll shoot some free stuff so you can build that portfolio. And then hopefully other businesses start to see that and want to hire you, and or you can go use that content and material to like pitch them, you know what I mean? Because like I even just did that recently. I know we're trying to get into like maybe shooting for some brands or companies that like we like, and obviously we make all of our own content for our own brands. So I was able to take that content that we make for our, you know, ads and social media and whatnot, and I was able to go to those 2 companies that like we think are cool companies and be like, hey, I can do this for you guys. Here's the numbers. We make all this. And like now I'm having Zoom calls with them about like, hey, when can we do the first round? So yeah, I think you just have to go out and create it. You can't just like sit back and hope they find you.
You know what I think would be, and actually this is a question for you piggybacked off of that, and maybe it'll help this person who asked this question come to some sort of like resolve, is, and I have a different answer, or maybe it's the same. I'll just ask you. Do you think in 2025, as a filmmaker, someone offering their skills as a creative service that they can bill, is it better to be a specialist? You're like the best at what you do, if that's an FPV drone person, a Steadicam operator, a content creator, or a generalist where it's like you offer a large menu of things. And which one do you think is better in 2025?
In 2025, I think it depends where you're at in your career.
Yeah.
I think if you're early on and you're starting out, it's best to become a specialist. Because for me, coming up, I was the specialist in directing, editing music videos. That was my bread and butter, and that's what ultimately led me to be able to build this career and this following to where all of a sudden it's like, oh, what else do I want to do now? I was able to branch out and start Tropicolor, start the studio, start Prism, like, and we were able to do that because of the name, following, notoriety behind that work. Had I just came out the gate and I was like a wedding photographer and a music video director and a drone, like, I don't think we'd be where we're at. So I think it's important early on to be a specialist, and then when you're in a place in your career where you can branch out, then you can branch out.
See, I would almost argue the inverse, where like when you're starting out, wouldn't it be best to like wet your beak in as many industries as possible, learn After Effects, learn Final Cut, learn Resolve, like learn all those base skills and then become a specialist at the thing that like really
sings? I think you could, but I think you do that behind the scenes, and whatever you're putting out there and promoting is like the thing you really want to do.
Regardless,
like I when I was coming up, I was shooting weddings and not a lot, but I was shooting weddings and doing other little things, but that's not what I was putting out there publicly of like, hey, I'm a wedding guy, like book me. Like,
you've mentioned weddings, and it's such a good point, because I got married a few years ago. It's crazy to even say that at this point, that it's been that long. But when we were looking for a wedding photographer, Jordan, my wife, was like, oh, hey, like so-and-so, this person shot this person's wedding. You want to look at their portfolio? And yeah, like you said, they had wedding photos on their website. They had drone photography. They had like corporate gimbal work. And then she found this other guy. He charges like $8K, but all he does is wedding photography. And it's like, I want the dude who literally, that's what his brain, that's all he does. He's a specialist. You just kind of
switched up on yourself then.
No, well, I mean, I'm thinking a specialist in.
But you just said it'd be better to be a generalist and kind of.
Well, I'm saying like starting out. Oh, okay. I don't think this dude was starting out. This dude's like at this. Yeah. I mean, you could really. There's no right or wrong answer. You know what I mean? But yeah.
Causing.ruckus asked, anything you can say about your new short film? Spoilers.
It's a crazy app, by the way.
It is. Causing.ruckus.
The thing I will say is it's called Late Fee, and it takes place in this video store.
Yeah. Cool.
Next question.
Next question. This is from Brian Van Geem. And sorry if I mess up anyone's name or whatever. What filmmaker's work and style impacted you the most growing up?
Well, dude, I feel like there's like 2 ways to answer this. There's like the big directors that I watched growing up that like made me want to be a filmmaker. And then as I got more into like the pocket of being a filmmaker, there was people who like were in my orbit or maybe like a rung above me that I like admired their work. For me, coming from the Bay Area, like as I really got into music videos, I looked up to Colin Tilley because he's from the Bay. I loved all of his videos that he would shoot for like The Pack and just all the things happening in the Bay. I was like, oh, that's like literally what I want to do. And he's at that next tier. And then I guess as a kid, yeah, I mean, I grew up watching like Jurassic Park and movies like that like really excited me to be a filmmaker. So I guess Spielberg in some way, but like I think Colin Tilley would probably be the more accurate answer, because I thought for a moment that I wanted to like be a music video director or shooter at some point. So
I think for me, film wise, growing up, like M. Night, just like I remember watching Signs and watching that movie as, I don't know, 12-year-old, being like, maybe I was even younger, I don't know, somewhere around there. And I was just like, I want to do that. Like, I want to make a movie like that. And I found that's super cool. Inspiring. And then, funny enough, I think Rex Arrow, he was like a music video.
The backpack rap with
the backpack rap era, early Mac Miller days on YouTube. I remember watching those, going like, I can do that.
Dude,
and that's
the
what
one
I
where
did.
he walks around with the speaker, I think, or not with right, or he literally has a backpack on. He's walking down the street, and it wasn't Rex just literally like handheld.
I mean, Rex Arrow was one of the first early, I think, music video directors that kind of popped with like a backpack rapper like
and
Mac,
like around the DSLR. Like I feel like that was when the 5D
era
was like, yo, why is the depth of field so shallow? This is crazy.
And so I remember I'd right around that time, I was in high school, early college. Picked up a T2i and started shooting. Like my first like kind of video is very similar to that, just walking around the town with a couple local rappers. I put out a video, then I met Kyle KID, started shooting his music videos, which then I bought a 5D Mark II, and that kind of led me down that path. But I remember watching those videos going like, oh, I could do that. That's like my way in. That's accessible for me. And so shout out to Rex Arrow. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of people that have no idea who
Shout
that
out to
is.
Magic Lantern on the DSLR.
The cracked Magic Lantern. Yeah. Dan Jams asks, if you had to start over again with the knowledge you have now, what would you change and why?
Dang, I wonder who that guy is, because that's a really good question.
He's standing over there right now.
Differently is interesting, because even the mistakes, as cliche as it sound, I feel like have informed a lot of the things that I feel like I'm doing right now. So, yeah, I don't know. But I guess if I could avoid some of that pain or just waste, I think my biggest pet peeve is I hate wasting time.
Yeah.
When I lose time to Premiere crashing or just doing something that we ends up scrapping, it like, honestly, it's like, fuck.
I think the easy answer is like obviously knowing the businesses and ventures or whatever that we've tried to tackle on that failed. I just would not try and tackle those.
Yeah.
That's the easy answer.
No,
like,
for sure.
I would not pursue those, obviously knowing that they didn't work.
Yeah.
So I once posted on Threads, like adapt or die, basically, like, if you're not able to adapt. So this guy, Austin, Layseter asked, what do you think adapt or die, or why do you think adapt or die applies to art?
That's a good question.
And I don't know if I necessarily meant it as it applies to art. I think I just, in general, I don't think if you're adapting with the times, you look at it constantly through businesses, look at Blockbuster, right? They didn't adapt to the changing landscape
I think business,
of movies.
you
and
do have to adapt or die, because it really is. If you, I mean, there's two instances, and it's ironic that we're in a Blockbuster, because at one moment Netflix did offer, or no, Blockbuster I think had the opportunity to buy Netflix, and like, no, that'll never catch on.
Right.
And then the other one is like Sports Illustrated. They looked at ESPN and like, no one's gonna watch sports 24/7, and I mean, like, look what happened, right? In business, I think you do need to factor that in. I think in art though, it's a little different, because you do have artists who probably work within a certain medium and stay within that pocket like for a while, you know what I mean? And maybe like the tools change, but yeah, I don't know. Like, what are your thoughts on that? You know what I mean?
No, I mean, I kind of what I feel like, in terms of art, I don't necessarily like, I think art is changing if you don't adapt. Like for all the filmmakers that shot on film that like never wanted to switch to digital, it's like we've moved into such a digital age and era. I'm sure there's many of those OG cinematographers, filmmakers that to this day are not working or now teach at a college and never continue because they were like, I'm not going to learn this new medium. And I'm sure same thing goes for, photographers, painters, like there, and in every art or medium, like there's new technology emerging. And if you don't learn to adapt to some capacity, like it could be hard to maintain a successful career. Not saying it's impossible. Like, I mean, you could still have a great, like, obviously when before photographs existed, everything was painted, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's still many successful
That's
painters.
what I was saying. Like there are people who
like,
just stay in that pocket, but
yeah.
no business. If you don't like, that's where like it's interesting for the businesses that we have, because I'm looking at like the things that are happening in generative AI and stuff, and you know it's a little spooky because we make products that like allow creatives to achieve a certain look. So will there be a moment when like people are prompting the thing that normally a filter that we sell does? And even if that is the case, the thing that gives me solace is, and I know this maybe isn't the same thing from Adapt or Die. This is me just almost like therapy talking through my business, is I do think in the same way that people, myself included, choose and enjoy shooting on film, though it's expensive to buy the rolls and scan it, even though there's technology like these digital cameras that make it way easier, people still seek out certain mediums and certain ways to create, even if it is air quote obsolete, because they prefer it. So even if I can prompt add a softening filter to this image and I drag that image into ChatGPT, that doesn't sound fun. Maybe I prefer, you know what I mean? I guess I'm only mentioning AI because I feel like at this moment in time, it's creeping into so many of the ways we think as creatives. And we're at, like I said, this interesting crossroads where like we have to adapt and maybe learn these tools or don't. And, you know, I feel like I sometimes see on your threads like, oh, you know, the people who huff and puff about AI, oh, I can't believe you posted that, blah, blah, blah. It's like those people who don't acknowledge the genie's out of the bottle, the toothpaste out of the tube. It's literally going to happen. So I think it's just on you to either, like at least understand how, because my perspective on it, the way I at least like to use it is if I'm shooting this video, maybe I want to make this clip like 9:16 for a reel. I think AI is great. I can literally generative fill the top of this. I don't think I'm displacing any artist by making there more headroom above my head.
Right.
Or, you know what I mean? Like stuff like that. Like I think it's like the same way in Photoshop. I can get rid of some dust that was on the lens, or like it's more like I'm using it like corrective. Where I think for me, I struggle with is like if this podcast was synthesized and written by like AI, like that's where I'd be like, I don't know if I'm interested in that. You know what I mean? And what are your thoughts?
I concur. That's it. Final. I know we're running long, so I'm trying to wrap it up with one final question before we get too long-winded here.
For sure.
Sorry for not.
It just ended up being a rant, and then like, nice.
Bet. Final question here. I think to wrap this one up, just since we're in the Prism Lens Effects video store, when starting a company like Prism, ecom in parentheses, what's the equipment you'd recommend? So obviously, like, we're now a company that is global in terms of we have customers and we service the globe. We've got, you know, people all over the world that use our products. We're sitting in our store, which is a far cry from the little 200 square foot shed we rented down the street 7 years ago now. What was like, for, I guess we could just say how we started and what we started with. I mean, you could speak to that maybe.
Yeah, I mean, ecom really now, especially if you're like, you know, trying to just be lean and just do digital products, selling like templates, Canva things, LUTs, presets, you just need a computer. And you can do a lot with a computer. If you're doing like a physical business, it really depends. Like for us, we needed, I guess this is very niche to us, but I do think it applies to a lot of businesses, is like business supplies. Like for us to pick and pack and pull and ship out our orders, we use a company called Uline, which Uline literally like ships, has like boxes and bubble wrap and stickers and caution tape and, you know, everything you would need to like run your business. They even have like the Dymo label printers, so you can like print out shipping tickets. So like maybe that would be a good place to start. But it's so dependent, because like if you're
on a space too, like we had that space. What do you think? I know you've mentioned the number before, but when we went to launch Prism, got the warehouse, got the physical glass and tools to build them, and then the materials from Uline to ship in the POS system. What do you think the initial all-in investment of Prism was to get that thing off the ground, our first batch of orders?
And would that include ordering all the first rounds of the orbs and the triangles and the art? Probably like 25 to 40. 25 to 40? Yeah.
So there you go. But yeah, I think if you're, it just depends on what type of e-com business you're trying to run. If you're doing something that's more like e-com drop shipping, there's obviously a lot less cost and startup to like actually like building and shipping like a physical good and product. So
the mistake I made, and it did bow me that year when I filed for taxes, is a lot of those startup costs I just swiped on my card because we didn't incorporate. At the time, I don't even think we really knew about all that. So incorporating, literally you can go on like LegalZoom or Zen Business, and like for $649 you can just make they do all the handling and the fees and the stuff for you.
Yeah.
And literally just make a LLC or an S corp, Google it, find out which one's better for you, and then just make your bank account and all the payments and transactions through that company.
Yeah.
Because when your business starts to make money but it's all run through your social instead of an EIN, it messes up all your taxes.
Yeah.
It's because then as a person,
we were just so new and green
Yeah.
to like doing that. That was really like a big first foray into
Yeah.
that, and so yeah, we just didn't.
Dude, I remember 2021. Our CPA at the time was like, "Yo, you owe like 140K in taxes." I was like, "Sick."
That was wild.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that was a great. I feel like that was a bunch of good questions.
Yeah.
We'll definitely have to do more like Q&As.
I think so, because it just allows us to like speed round so many, like
topics.
our intro episode. We have our hands in like so many different little things. So like I think this was a great way to like talk about a lot of those. And then maybe like after we record this, we're like, you know what, we should do a full episode about
on this topic,
that or this. So
yeah.
I appreciate everyone who actually took the time to do that. And we'll usually on social media on like one of our channels, like we'll just ask like a AMA and just do like one of those polls. And
yeah,
I mean, I
so
think
make sure if you don't, like, follow myself on Instagram at Jacob Owens, and then Prism Lens Effects at Prism Lens Effects, because that's where I kind of posted like, hey, ask us a question. We're gonna shoot a podcast episode answering your questions. So make sure you follow us on Instagram, on YouTube here. Make sure you like and subscribe. You're subscribed so you don't miss an episode. And then and the Apple Podcast stuff. Like,
I mean, honestly, like we have this on all major podcasts, wherever you listen to them. So I appreciate, those who are listening and subscribing. And thank you for tuning in to No Late Fees.
All right, guys. We'll see you on the next one.
Peace.